When the twin princesses of Valerian opened their eyes, the world they saw was not the one they had left behind. Instead of silver towers, glowing skies, and the soft hum of their home planet, there was only the deep sound of wind, the smell of earth, and the whisper of trees. The crash had thrown them far from their royal cruiser, and now they lay in the middle of a quiet forest on Earth. Princess Leora, the elder, slowly lifted herself from the broken glass of her escape pod. Her long silver hair was tangled, and her once bright uniform was torn. Her younger sister Seren sat beside her, holding her arm, confused and frightened. The two looked alike, same golden eyes, same glowing markings on their necks that showed their royal heritage. But Seren's expressions were softer, more childlike. "Where are we?" Seren asked in a trembling voice. Leora looked around. "Not home," she whispered. "The stars are wrong. The crash had destroyed their ship's energy core. The navigation system was gone, and their beacon, the only way to call for help, had melted in the explosion. They had no idea where they were or if anyone would ever find them. They tried to use their wrist communicators, but the screens blinked only weak light before fading to black. The planet's strange atmosphere was interfering with everything. They were stranded. Hours passed before they managed to crawl out of the broken pod. The forest stretched endlessly. They could hear birds singing, water flowing somewhere in the distance, and strange animals running through the bushes. It was peaceful yet frightening. Valerie princesses were trained in diplomacy, science, and art, but not survival. By nightfall, the temperature dropped. Serene shivered, clutching her arms. Her markings began to glow faintly, a natural reaction when Valerie were under stress. Leora guided her under a large tree and tried to stay calm. "We'll survive tonight," she said softly. "Tomorrow we'll find help." But deep down she wasn't sure how. Far away in a small wooden house at the edge of the forest, Ethan Hale worked late in his small garage. He was an engineer who fixed old machines, radios, and farm equipment for nearby towns. He lived alone after his parents passed away, keeping company only with his tools and an old dog named Rusty. When the explosion hit, the ground shook, and his radio flickered with static. He rushed outside, expecting to see a plane crash, but instead a streak of blue fire fell into the forest behind his property. Without thinking, he grabbed a flashlight and ran. The forest was dark and silent except for the sound of wind. After 20 minutes of searching, he found a glowing crater. The air was warm and smoke rose from the ground. In the middle of it sat something he could hardly believe. A silver pod split in half and two figures sitting beside it. At first, he thought they were human. But as he came closer, his light caught their faces. Their eyes reflected gold, their skin had faint glowing lines, and their hair shimmered as if it held light itself. He froze. "What in the world?" The elder one stood protectively in front of the younger. Her voice was calm but firm. "Stay back." Ethan raised his hands. "I'm not here to hurt you. I just saw the crash." Seren hid behind her sister, whispering something in a language he didn't understand. Leora watched Ethan carefully. There was no weapon in his hands, and his eyes didn't show danger, only concern. He looked human, simple, harmless. When he noticed they were shaking, he took off his jacket and offered it. "You both look cold," he said gently. Leora didn't move, but Seren looked at him curiously. The man's tone was soft, like someone who cared. No one on Valerian would ever speak that way to strangers. Hesitantly, she took the jacket and wrapped it around herself. Ethan smiled slightly. "See? Not dangerous." He pointed toward his house in the distance. "I live nearby. It's safe there. You can rest, get warm." Leora didn't know if they could trust him, but the temperature was dropping quickly. The thin suits they wore were not made for Earth's cold nights. Finally, she nodded. "We follow," she said in broken English. He guided them through the forest, careful not to move too fast. When they reached his home, Rusty barked once and wagged his tail. Seren jumped, startled, but Ethan laughed. "He's a friend." Inside, the warmth from the small stove made them relax. Ethan brought blankets and some food. He didn't know what they could eat, so he offered bread, fruit, and water. Serene sniffed the apple before taking a small bite. Her eyes widened. It was sweet, unlike anything from their world. Leora watched Ethan quietly. He was different from the people she had studied in human archives. His kindness wasn't forced or fearful. It was simple, natural. She began to wonder if all humans were like this, or if he was an exception. Ethan tried to ask where they came from, but the sisters exchanged confused looks. Their translator devices flickered weakly before shorting out. Only a few English words worked. Far. Sky, Leora said, pointing upward. Ethan blinked. You mean outer space? She nodded slowly. He laughed softly in disbelief. I knew it. You're aliens, Seren tilted her head. Aliens? Visitors from another world, he explained. People from the stars. Leora's eyes softened. Yes, and stars. It was strange. He didn't seem afraid. He didn't try to call anyone or run away. Instead, he looked thoughtful, like a man seeing something wonderful and impossible at the same time. They stayed the night. The rain started outside, tapping softly on the windows. Seren fell asleep on the couch, still wrapped in Ethan's blanket. Leora sat near the fire, watching the flames. Ethan handed her a cup of warm tea. You can rest too. You're safe here. She accepted it slowly, still unsure. You trust us? He smiled. I trust my eyes. You look scared, not dangerous. Something in his tone made her chest feel tight. For years on her world, everyone around her had treated her like a figure of power, not a person. Yet here, a simple human spoke to her like an equal. That night, while Ethan slept on a chair, the sisters whispered softly in their language. He's kind, Seren said. His emotions feel warm. Yes, Leora replied. Too warm. This world, it changes how we feel. The markings on their necks glowed faintly. Their species entered a bonding phase during the mating season, a time meant for choosing emotional partners, not physical ones. It was a sacred process of linking hearts and minds guided by natural energy. But here on Earth, the shift had begun early without the usual control. Seren placed a hand on her chest. It started, didn't it? Leora closed her eyes. Yes, the season has begun. By morning, Ethan found them outside, standing under the sunrise. The light reflected off their silver hair, and for a moment they looked like beings made of light. He smiled, though he didn't understand the depth of their situation. He offered them breakfast and asked again if there was anyone he could call. They shook their heads. No call, Leora said. We fixed ship, he hesitated. Your ship is in bad shape. I can help if you let me. Her eyes brightened slightly. You fix things? Ethan chuckled. That's what I do. He gathered his tools and followed them back into the forest. When they reached the crater, he was amazed by the technology. The metal was smooth as glass, still warm to the touch. Inside were glowing panels and strange symbols. Leora guided him carefully. Touch here, she said, pointing to a broken circuit. Energy flow. He didn't understand the science behind it, but his instinct as an engineer told him what to do. Using simple wires and batteries from his truck, he managed to reactivate a small part of the system. One of the panels lit up. Seren clapped her hands softly. He did it. Leora looked surprised. You understand machines, she said. Machines and I get along, he smiled. Though this one's a bit above my pay grade. They laughed lightly. It was the first time she had smiled since the crash. Over the next few days, Ethan helped them gather materials. He didn't ask for answers, and they didn't explain much. But slowly, a strange friendship formed between them. The princesses helped around his home, learning small Earth habits, cooking, washing, even trying to talk with Rusty. Seren giggled every time the dog barked. He speaks loudly, she said. Ethan found himself laughing more than he had in years. Their presence brought light into his quiet life. Yet sometimes he noticed their glowing eyes dim or their skin flicker faintly with light. He didn't know it was because of their unstable bond cycle. One night, a thunderstorm hit again. The sound scared Seren, and she rushed to Ethan's room, trembling. Sky angry, she whispered. He smiled gently. It's just thunder. When lightning flashed, she covered her ears. Ethan reached out his hand. It's okay, he said softly. I'm here. Her fingers touched his, and for a second a small spark of golden light passed between them. Both froze. The air felt charged, warm, almost alive. Seren looked at him with wide eyes. What was that? He asked. Leora appeared at the door, her eyes glowing. She saw the faint shimmer between Ethan and her sister. Her voice was calm but heavy. It has begun, Ethan frowned. What do you mean? Leora's expression softened. Our season. It started early, and your touch changed it. He didn't understand, but he could see they were both frightened. He decided not to press further. Instead, he made tea, trying to comfort them. As they sat near the fire again, the strange warmth in the air remained, a silent connection neither of them could explain. Over the next few days, the bond grew stronger. Ethan began to feel their emotions faintly like soft echoes in his heart. When Seren was sad, he felt a shadow in his chest. When Leora smiled, he felt peace. It was confusing but beautiful. He often caught himself staring at. It was faint and broken, but the voice was clear enough for the sisters to understand. Their mother, the Queen of Valerian, had sent a signal through deep space, searching for her lost daughters. The transmission was weak, but it carried hope. Their people had not given up on them. Leora and Seren stood silently before the glowing console of the half-repaired ship. Ethan watched from behind, wiping the grease off his hands. He couldn't understand the alien language, but he could see the tears shining in their golden eyes. "They found you?" he asked softly. Leora nodded slowly. "Yes, fleet, coming. Few days." Serene smiled faintly, but her smile didn't last. She looked at Ethan as if something inside her hurt. He smiled back, though his heart felt heavy. He had spent weeks with them now. His quiet house had become alive again. Laughter, conversation, light. He didn't know how to imagine it without them. That night, the house was quiet. The storm clouds had cleared and stars covered the sky. The same stars the sisters once called home. Serene sat near the window, her hand glowing faintly against the glass. Ethan came beside her, holding 2 cups of tea. "You don't sleep much," he said kindly. She looked up, smiling weakly. "Too many thoughts." He handed her a cup. "I get that." For a long time, they just watched the stars together. The silence wasn't empty, and it was warm. After a while, she spoke softly. "Our season. It makes our hearts open," she said. "We feel everything stronger. Joy, pain, fear, love, even the feelings of others." Ethan listened carefully. "And it started early because of Earth?" She nodded. "Yes, this world changed us. Its air, its warmth. And you?" She stopped herself, unsure if she should continue. Her cheeks glowed faintly in the starlight. "You made it calm. You stopped the storm inside." He didn't know what to say. He wasn't a hero, just a man who had tried to help strangers. But her words touched something deep inside him. He looked at her glowing eyes and said softly, "Then maybe it was meant to happen. You landing here." Serene's lips curved into a small, sad smile. "Maybe." Leora stood in the doorway, listening quietly. She understood the danger of what was happening. The emotional link forming between a human and Valeri could become permanent. Once the bonding cycle was complete, the separation could break both hearts. Yet she couldn't bring herself to stop it. The human had given them warmth and life. He had saved them in more ways than one. Over the next 2 days, they worked together to prepare for the arrival of the rescue fleet. The signal had grown stronger, and now the console displayed coordinates. Their people were less than a solar day away. Ethan helped them finish the power conduit. His steady hands and calm focus amazed Leora. She had met the greatest engineers of her world, but none had his quiet intuition. "You fix things with heart," she said one afternoon. Watching him repair a damaged circuit, he chuckled. "Machines just need patience. Sometimes they don't need force, just care." She studied him for a moment. "Humans are softer than I expected, but stronger too," he looked up. "And you're calmer than I expected from alien royalty." For the first time, Leora laughed, a genuine musical sound. It surprised both of them. The moment felt simple, peaceful, almost human. By the next sunrise, the beacon shone brighter than ever. A low hum filled the air, as if the planet itself could feel the arrival of something vast beyond the clouds. Serene's energy began to shift. Her golden markings pulsed faster, and her connection to Ethan deepened. She could sense his emotions even when he was outside the room. When he worried, her heart tightened. When he smiled, her spirit lightened. It was as if an invisible thread connected them. But this bond also made her weaker. Without the natural stabilizers of their homeworld, her body struggled to handle the energy surge. By noon, she collapsed near the ship, gasping for air. Ethan ran to her side. "Seren, what's wrong?" Leora placed her hands on her sister's chest, her markings glowing bright. "It's the link," she said quickly. "It's growing too strong." Ethan held Seren's hand. "Tell me what to do." Leora hesitated. "You are part of it now. The bond started with your touch. Your presence keeps it balanced. Don't leave her side." He nodded firmly. Then I'm not going anywhere. For hours he sat beside Seren, holding her hand. Her breathing slowly steadied. Leora watched quietly, realizing something powerful was happening. The human had somehow become their emotional anchor. His heart was strong enough to balance 2 alien lives. When Seren finally opened her eyes again, she whispered, "I saw light." "And I heard your voice through it," Ethan smiled. "Guess I'm louder than I thought." Leora knelt beside them, her eyes soft. "You saved her, Ethan Hale, again." That evening, a faint rumble shook the ground. The Valari fleet had entered the atmosphere. 3 silver ships glided through the clouds, glowing like comets. Ethan stepped outside with the sisters. The sight was breathtaking, elegant, silent, full of power. "They're here," Leora said quietly. Serene looked at Ethan. "You'll come with us, right?" He frowned. "Come with you to space?" "I can't." Before he could finish, the largest ship descended lower. A beam of light scanned the area, locking onto their coordinates. Then a deep voice echoed in the Valari language. Leora closed her eyes to translate. "They say they found us. They're sending a landing pod." Ethan felt torn. He should have been happy. They were finally safe. But instead, a hollow feeling grew in his chest. He realized he didn't want them to leave. He had never met anyone like them. Pure, brave, gentle. They had made his quiet world feel alive again. Minutes later, a smaller craft landed near the field. The hatch opened and a tall Valari commander stepped out, dressed in silver armor. His voice was calm but firm. "Princesses of Valerian, your mother awaits you." Leora nodded respectfully. "Thank you, Commander." The officer's glowing eyes fell on Ethan. "And the human?" Leora hesitated. "He helped us. Without him, we wouldn't be alive." The commander looked doubtful. "A human? You bonded with one of them?" Before she could reply, Seren suddenly staggered. The link inside her pulsed painfully as the ship's energy disrupted the bond. She cried out and fell to her knees. Ethan rushed forward, holding her. The commander took a step back, surprised by the burst of golden light between them. Leora shouted, "Stop! His touch keeps her stable!" The commander's expression changed from confusion to realization. "Then the human is part of the link." The air was tense. Leora looked at Ethan, her voice soft but trembling. "If she leaves without you, the bond will break. She could die." Ethan's mind raced. "Then I'll go with her." The commander frowned. "Impossible. A human cannot survive our world." Leora's eyes hardened. "He must, or my sister's heart will fail." There was silence. The commander activated his communicator and spoke rapidly in their tongue. After a long pause, he looked at them. "The Queen approves. The human will be brought to Valerian under royal protection, temporarily." Ethan blinked. "Wait, did he just say I'm going to space?" Seren smiled weakly. "You are part of us now." He looked from her to Leora, then up at the silver ship waiting in the sky. "Guess I'd better pack light." They stepped inside the Valari craft. The interior glowed with gentle light and the air felt alive, humming softly. As the door closed, Ethan felt gravity shift. Earth grew smaller in the window until it was just a blue circle. He had never imagined leaving his planet, but now he was flying among stars with 2 alien princesses. Seren rested her head against his shoulder. Her glow dimmed peacefully, her heartbeat steady again. Lyra stood beside them, finally at ease. "She will live." "The bond is balanced now," Ethan smiled. Glad to hear it. For a while no one spoke. The silence of space surrounded them like a song. Leora finally broke it. "You will meet our mother soon. She will want to thank you." He chuckled nervously. "Meet a space queen? Great, no pressure." When they reached Valerian orbit, Ethan could hardly breathe from awe. The planet was covered in silver oceans, glowing mountains, and floating cities. Light shimmered everywhere like living stars. The royal cruiser guided them to the palace, a grand crystal structure surrounded by energy gardens. Inside, the Queen of Valerian awaited them. She was tall and graceful, with golden eyes like her daughters. When she saw them, she ran forward and embraced them both. "My children," she said softly in their language, tears streaming down her face. Then her eyes turned to Ethan. For a long moment she studied him silently. He bowed awkwardly, unsure what to do. Leora stepped forward. "Mother, this human saved us. He protected Saren when the bond began. He risked everything." The Queen nodded slowly. "I see, the bond runs deep. You carry a light not meant for your kind, yet it does not consume you." Ethan swallowed. "I didn't mean for it to happen. I just didn't want them to be alone. The Queen smiled faintly. That is the heart of humanity, small in power yet vast in love. She looked at her daughters. The bond must be released carefully, or it will harm both sides. But if you wish, it can remain, not as a tie of need but of trust. Seren turned to Ethan. Do you want that? He looked at her glowing eyes, full of warmth, kindness, and quiet strength, and nodded. Yeah, I do. The Queen raised her hand. A gentle light surrounded them. The energy that once burned painfully now became calm and soft, like a golden thread between their hearts. It no longer trapped them. It simply connected them. Days later, Ethan stood on a balcony overlooking the Valari capital. The